The 2025 Game of the Year nominees have been added to the categories. We got the little puppies here in the background to hang out with us, and I believe the big puppy over there. But I really wanted to talk about the overall categories this year because this year, 2025, has been absolutely stacked when it comes to phenomenal games, both in the multiplayer space and in the single player space. And I'm really, really excited to dive into some of my own opinions on it, as well as talk about what we could see with these nominations. So, to start out, I really want to take a moment and really shine light on more so Clair Obscur Expedition 33 collecting 12 nominations within the Game Awards, which I believe is a new world record for most nominations by a single game during the Game Awards. It got shafted during the Grammys for Best Score, in my opinion. I think, even though I've played just about every game on the nomination list, with the exception of 2 for Game of the Year, I really, really, really think there was no excuse for Claire to not be on there. Expedition 33 has been absolutely fantastic when it comes to just about everything that it's done, to be honest. It, from what I have seen, a lot of people's opinions on, is it has almost brought turn-based to be more entertaining than, say, Persona 5, which was a breakout hit when it hit the global market, and that got a lot of people back into turn-based style combat. And it seems like Expedition 33 has done the same thing. I'm really excited to see what other Clair Obscur games they make, because Expedition 33 was fantastic, and I really hope that they continue to build this world like they said that they want to. But there's a lot to unpack here. It won, it won a nomination for Game of the Year, Best Direction, Best Narrative, Best Art Direction, Best Score, Best Score and Music, sorry, Best Audio, Best Indie Game, Best Debut Independent Game, Best RPG, and 3 of its actors were nominated for Best Performance, which I'm fairly certain is actually a world record that I don't think any other game will beat anytime soon. I think that will stand for probably another couple of years. Really, really excited by how that's gonna play out. But unfortunately, the Game Awards website is constantly crashing right now. But thanks to this Reddit archive mega thread, I was able to find just about everything, and I double checked it, and it is all up and 100% correct. So, the nominees for Best Score and Music, we have Silk Song, Hades 2, Expedition 33, Ghost of Yotoi, and Death Stranding 2. Of these games, I have not played Ghost of Yotoi, simply because it's $70 on the PlayStation, and there's been so many games this year, I just haven't gotten around to it. But I do really want to play that soon. I started replaying Ghost of Tsushima a couple months ago, and I'm slowly making my way through that. And I really forgot how interesting the world can be. I'm very excited to see what Sucker Punch did with Ghost of Yotoi, but we'll have to see when I get to it. For these nominees, I think Expedition 33 takes the cake. Death Stranding 2 has some phenomenal musical development and very, very good score, but I do think Expedition 33 will kind of overtake that because it is just, in my opinion, simply better. There's a lot to unpack with Expedition 33's music. In fact, I've seen it spread even to full opera performances that are happening that are not connected to the game at all, just people, performing the actual songs. And once you get to a stage like that, you kind of know that you've just made it. That's really all it is, or all that's like to it. Sorry if any of the audio sounds a little funky. My mixing is not working right now, so I'm kind of doing it all by hand. And I know, the music might be a bit loud. I just wanted to have something go on while I yap for the next, 20, 30 minutes, as this is something that I'm super passionate about. I think effectively what is the Grammys for video games is super important in the gaming space because we have so much choice over it. But as of this moment, we have the nominees for Best Performance. We have Ben Starr, Charlie Cox, Erika Ishii, Jennifer English, Kanatsu Kato, and Troy Baker. Personally, I would go with Troy Baker. I just love Troy Baker. It's hard for me not to vote for Troy Baker. However, genuinely, anybody on this list could confidently win the Best Performance, and I would not feel any dissatisfaction. This is a very, very stacked group, and I think that everybody on here deserves to win the award, genuinely. And it's not often that I'm able to say that, but this is one of those times where I really am interested to see like what's going on. Best art direction. So we got Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2, GOTY a Toy, Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong. Of these games, I think for art direction, Expedition 33, Hades 2, and Silksong take the cake, and I don't even think it's close. Death Stranding 2 and GOTY a Toy have a very realistic style, which is super impressive, especially with all of the 3D modeling and whatnot, and the ray tracing and the scanning that they've done with those games. It is very, very interesting, and I do think it deserves credit. It definitely deserves to be nominated for Best Art Direction, but I think the overall across the entire board of the game, Silksong is fucking beautiful, genuinely so pretty. It is such a beautifully done platformer, and obviously being one of the most anticipated games in history, it really is super interesting to see, what Team Cherry decided to do with the last decade of our lives. Um, Overall, though, I do think Expedition 33 deserves the overall win. Um, there's a lot going on there, and I think it's such a beautiful game, and it really does a good job of capturing both a standard paint base and an animated based environment, while also keeping very good tracing and ray tracing for the characters. Every part of that game just looks beautiful, and I think that it probably will also win Best Art Direction. And I wouldn't be surprised if it wins, or like if it gains another record of holding the most wins across nominations as well, because it genuinely is such a good game. Moving on to Best Ongoing Game, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, Marvel Rivals, and No Man's Sky. Of these games, I feel like this music doesn't super fit, but I do love Old Snake. We'll throw in some Final Fantasy music, of course. But of these games for Best Ongoing Game, I personally think either Helldivers 2 or No Man's Sky takes the cake. Final Fantasy XIV, I think, may have had a pretty big expansion, but I really haven't heard much of it this year. I know a number of people have picked it up recently, or like within the last 8 months. I believe Dog VA and Iron Mouse recently did like a massive stream where they just binge played it for a while. I know Summit 1G has been playing it a lot, or like he always had played it a lot, but I think overall for the Best Ongoing Games, Helldivers 2 has just been such a phenomenal community experience, and it has had such a massive internet presence this year, especially with the new campaign that they just did recently, and now most recent with the worms. It's been super, super cool. I have played a fair amount of it with some of my friends, and I think we can all agree that it definitely deserves to be on this list, if not winning this list. But I wouldn't be surprised if something like Fortnite or Final Fantasy 14 wins. No Man's Sky had a massive content update. We played the shit out of the new content update, and it's been a lot of fun seeing the community make massive creations. Um, Overall, I do know that people have been building so much recently, and I think that's super cool. I really want to see more of what the community can put together. So I'm very interested in seeing that. I was surprised to see Marvel Rivals on here. I was not under the impression that it would even qualify, but I guess it released last year. It doesn't feel like it. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Um, Again, Fortnite's Fortnite. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it wins. It just kind of takes over a lot. But I do have a sibling who plays a lot of Fortnite, and he tries to play Fortnite competitively. And from what I've heard from him is that they have really been dropping the ball for content development recently, and they have not really released any original content as of late. It is all just collaboration-based content, which I'm not necessarily saying is bad, but I do think that when your player base is outwardly getting annoyed with the lack of content development, then I feel like you really shouldn't deserve to win anything. Moving on, though, I want to go to Best Mobile Game. Persona 5 The Phantom X, Sonic Rumble, Destiny Rising, Uma Musume Pretty Derby, and Wuthering Waves. I still do not fully understand Wuthering Waves. I have it added on Steam. I have no fucking clue really what it is. I understand that it's a gacha game, but I don't understand anything else about it. And part of me wants to stay in the dark so I can see the cool animations and not have an opinion on it. Because honestly, I think the cool animations are pretty rad. I'm going to move you guys a bit closer. Speaking of Claire, though, from earlier, I will turn this up just a little bit because this is one of the songs that I have heard the most. I believe it's the title screen song, but I'm not 100% certain. Anyways, while this is playing, let me go over my opinion for Best Mobile Game. I think I'm going to go with Persona 5 The Phantom X or Uma Musume. I would hope that Uma Musume wins because that took over the internet and I still see content on it even right now. It's very interesting. I'm super excited to see, if they keep putting forward that stuff. And I know that it has done massive economic booms within Japan, getting people back into horse racing and whatnot, which has kind of revived a almost dead sport. And personally, I've always really found horse racing interesting. It's like, I love racing in general, especially cars, but there's something about horse racing that you just kind of don't get when it comes to other forms of racing, which, only time will tell if it'll win, obviously. But I do think that it probably has the best opportunity for winning Best Mobile Game. Persona 5 I have a personal bias with, though it makes me incredibly angry knowing that the PC port is 80 gigabytes. I think that's fucking ridiculous when Persona 5 Royal, the base game, or rather the game with the most amount of content between the three, or well, I guess that's like 6 with Strikers and Strikers 2 and whatnot now. But that game is a fucking joke from what I understand, and I refuse to even play it simply because of that. But I do know that the community is pretty good. I've heard practically nothing about Destiny Rising. I mean, Destiny as a franchise is dying off very fast. As we can see, Bungie is constantly releasing numbers about it, and Sony has now made a statement about it. So we'll have to see what happens there, but I really do not think that it'll go very well for them. I haven't heard much for Sonic Rumble, of course. And then Wuthering Waves, all I know is their promotional material. But Uma Musume, I have seen literally everywhere. I see Wuthering Waves edits and stuff, but it's still edits of their promotional material and their cutscenes and whatnot. So I still don't actually fully understand what the fuck the game even is. So I think by default, I have to give it to Uma Musume Pretty Derby, just because it has done something. Now, This is the one that I was super interested in. Best adaptations. Minecraft movie, Devil May Cry, Last of Us Season 2, Splinter Cell Death Watch, and Until Dawn. I did not like the Minecraft movie. I know it obviously isn't geared towards me, but I did not like it, and I've been slowly falling out of favor with Blackjack because I just have not liked the last probably 5 movies that he has been in, and they've all been very disappointing for me. The Mario movie I was okay with, but it was still, meh, in my opinion. Like, it wasn't a bad movie. It was just slowly felt like a waste of time for me. I'm personally, I lead more towards the Devil May Cry adaptation. I hate the Last of Us adaptation. I don't like that the team over there for some reason just hates the games and thinks they're inferior in every way. Also, I love the press statement about the guy who was like, The Last of Us changed gaming because it added story to video games, and before that it was just Pong. I think that's really funny, but I hate that team. I think they've really botched the entire message of the series as well, which has been very upsetting to me. Splinter Cell Death Watch. Until Dawn. I've heard that Until Dawn was pretty good. I know that a lot of people didn't like it because it didn't follow the exact plot of the games, but I mean, honestly, that didn't bother me much. I think if it did follow the exact plot of the games, you would need to choose one of the 3 endings, which would be very, very difficult, I would say. At least if I remember correctly, there's only 3. There might be more. Plus, you have to, choose the perfect outcome for a lot of them because, characters die all the time, and it's just a bit of a mess. But yeah, I think you could have even gotten the same actors to just do it as a film. From last I checked, all for the most part, the vast majority of them were totally down to do it. But I mean, what do I know? Best narrative. This one is probably going to be the hardest. Death Stranding 2 was super fun narratively. It was a fucking crazy show. It reminded me a lot of Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 4. Just really wild storytelling. You may have noticed I skipped over a game, and that's because I kind of want to gush about it without spoilers. Ghost of Toy. A lot of people have said that it's a fair bit weaker than Ghost of Tsushima, which is, understandable. I feel like Ghost of Tsushima is a really hard game to make a sequel to, and obviously this is done, 1,000 years later or whatever. So definitely something to figure out. But I think Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, although I am not a fan of Kingdom Come, Kingdom Come Deliverance, both the first and the sequel, I have heard that narratively it is very, very good. For me, the mechanics were just extremely boring, and the narrative could not hook me past the mechanics for the first one, so I really didn't have an interest in the second one at all. But I have heard that the second one is very good when it comes to talking through development and whatnot, and explaining, different things within the story. And I have heard that there are a lot of branching paths that the community really loves. But, that's still something to kind of, I don't know exactly how I feel about it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here to make it a bit easier. Silent Hill F, I have heard that it is extremely good. I've heard that it has crazy audio design, and from what I've watched, the audio design is really, really well done. The only complaints I've really seen about this game are the combat and the durability of items. Game developers, learn from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Those 2 games were beloved by the community. It was beloved by tons of people, and it fostered a new age of Zelda speedrunning. But people fucking hate the durability system because they're not fun. It is genuinely just not fun to have a durability system like that. Like, you should not have to worry about fighting a singular enemy just because of the durability. If you wanted to make it a more stealth focused game, then you should have done other actions to incentivize that, not give a combat mechanic that just beats the shit out of you for no reason. I should not have to spend 20 minutes fighting a singular regular enemy and have my weapon break just because of that. You know, that's a not so good thing. But narrative wise, I've heard nothing but positives from the people who have played Silent Hill F. Though it's a bit fucky. Apparently, the more like, it's one of those games where you do like 2-3 playthroughs, which I'm totally fine with a game incentivizing you to have multiple playthroughs while you're doing it. That is totally fine for me, as long as you can still have a concise narrative that is vaguely understandable but is expanded upon more playthroughs. That is what is important to me, and I think Hades is a really good example of that, where even if you no-hit the first run, you have to play through multiple times in order to progress, which I think is super, super important. Now, Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I have been doing nothing but gushing about this game, this entire video, and it's very, very important, but I genuinely think this is probably one of the best narratives of this year. I am confident that this is the best narrative of the year. It has so many underlying tones that are conveyed very well throughout the plot. The plot development is at a perfect pace, in my opinion. I have not seen pacing this good in a number of years. It is super slow but quick. It's just a really, really good, calm walk along the beach. You know, like it's very, everything feels so perfectly timed throughout the entire narrative. All of the plot beats, or like every story beat, every character interaction, it feels good from a writing perspective, following through everything, and it feels really good experiencing it throughout the entirety of the game. I will be shocked if Expedition 33 does not win Best Narrative of the Year. I really will be shocked. I think Death Stranding 2 was really good. Like I said, I think it was super fun. But of all of the games listed, I think Expedition 33 takes the cake, and I don't even think it's close. Moving in to Best Audio Design, as we have some great music to accompany us. I refuse to believe Battlefield 6 is even on this list. It is spectacular. The audio design is really, really good. But, it does not come close to Expedition 33. It does not come close to Silent Hill F, and it does not come close to Death Stranding 2. I cannot speak for Ghost of Toy. As I have said, I have not consumed enough of it to truly have an opinion that I can weigh on. But I have played the entire campaign for Battlefield 6. I have played about 200 hours of the multiplayer. Portal, the Battle Royale, RedSec, Conquest, and is like my bread and butter. I've been playing a lot of the small scale game modes too, like Team Deathmatch, King of the Hill, stuff like that. Escalation has been a super fun addition, and I think should be a standard that should stay. Just give me a Conquest Escalation game mode, and I'll be happy for the rest of my life, to be honest. I think that the audio design is spectacular across all of these games, but I think Battlefield 6 is definitely the weakest on this list, and by a top mile, especially with the RedSec. RedSec has really shown a lot of audio issues. You really can't hear much. A lot of things are just overtaken by other things, but it's still not necessarily bad, and it does show it definitely is a lot weaker than some other Battlefields like Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, which I think have some of the best audio direction of multiplayer games, and I'm pretty confident in saying that. Um, obviously, I'm gonna go for either Expedition 33 or Death Stranding 2. I think the mechanical sounds of Death Stranding 2 are super nice. When you come into contact with uh, any of the enemies, it's like super, like all the enemies are super unique and they have very good audio direction. But I do think Expedition 33 will probably take this one as well. It is just so well done. All of the combat sounds perfect. I've not heard a more satisfying parry sound since For Honor first released, and they had the original parry sound before they updated it. Just the shing sound, like the shing of shit hitting each other is just, it really tickles my brain. And although from what I've heard, Ghost of Toy isn't super like it's not bad. I don't think it comes close to Expedition 33. For best indie game, if Silksong does not win this, it has to go to Expedition 33. I love Hades. Hades 2 has been super interesting. Blueprints, super, super cool. Let me change the song again here. Oh, Diablo. That explains so much. So we'll put a more chill song here, and then I'll add Otherworld to the queue. To be honest, I was not expecting to yap for this long, but I'm glad that I'm doing it, because I feel like this is something that I can just bitch and whine about for years and be happy. But yeah, for best indie game, not even close. I think it's got to go to Silksong. It is the most anticipated game of the year, of all time, ever. So super excited about that. Really excited to see if something else wins. I don't know what could. Blueprints is a great game. Ball Pit, super fun. I really like how diverse it was. I was talking to Jay about this. And I think he acquired it. And I'd have to ask him what he really thinks of it. But from my own opinion, I think it has to go to Silksong. I think it's just such a good game. Hades 2 is a great game, but I mean, they were gonna get overshadowed this year with Expedition 33 coming out and Silksong. There was not much that they could have done here, I don't think. Best community support. I think this one goes to Helldivers 2, and I don't even think it's remotely close. The community has been overwhelming on the internet and super, super impactful in just keeping the game alive, I would say. It's super awesome to see people so excited about the game. Even if they aren't in the space, people following along with the campaign, or the previous campaign, more so than the current one. I think the current one's kind of lackluster, but I mean, they just had a crazy campaign that topped player numbers, and I think that the community behind Helldivers 2 is probably one of the best communities I've ever been around. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I already talked about the community development for No Man. FF14, obviously, they're one of the strongest MMOs, I would argue. I would even argue that it's stronger than WoW now. I think their community is just a lot more together and fun to be around. So I think it's been super awesome. Baldur's Gate 3, the community's fine, but it's really just D&D fans, really, or like a hand, that's disingenuous, but in comparison to the rest of these, I don't think it comes close. Now, best multiplayer game. I really, really, really wanted this category, and I've wanted it for a while. I love Arc Raiders. It's been a ton of fun. I've only been playing it for about a week, but it has been a ton of fun. Community's fun to mess around with. It's a lot more like early Tarkov, where when they first added VoIP and you could talk to people and be like, listen, I go this way, you go that way, we're chill. I do like that. I do also like the amount of betrayal that's happening. The only thing I don't like is there's a lot of people who just wanted to go strictly PvE, in which case I would say just go play Helldivers. I think if there was no PvP, there really wouldn't be a point in it being an extraction shooter. Um, but I think the combat's super fun. Every part of that game is great. Elden Ring Night Rain. I didn't think it would actually be nominated, but it has been super fun, and we have a DLC coming out soon that's going to be adding Artorias, which I'm super excited for, and I believe Gale is also rumored to be in there, so definitely excited to see that. I love the DS3 like DLC bosses. I thought they were super cool. Obviously, Artorias is iconic. Um, I would really love if they added some Bloodborne stuff in there too, like Garmin, the Nightmare Beast. Uh, maybe even Cause, um, like Orphan of Cause would be pretty sick. Oh, Kitty Cat wants to join us. Come on, Iris. Come on. I guess not. He's upset. I'm not giving him enough space. There we are, Kitty Cat. So super excited to see what they do with the game, but honestly, I would not give it to Night Rain, not at all. Split Fiction, super well liked from what I can hear, but in my opinion, I also wouldn't give it best multiplayer. The game that I personally, as a huge fan of both Arc Raiders and Battlefield, would give multiplayer game of the year would be Peak. Peak has been super fun. I know that they keep adding content. My girlfriend plays it all the time with her friends and her sister. And honestly, it really is just like the ideal multiplayer game, I would say. Though I will not be surprised if it goes to something like Arc Raiders or Battlefield 6. Totally understandable. But I do think Peak really does deserve a slot on this list. Just being nominated, I think, is a spectacular accomplishment, especially with the amount of games we've had this year. So that I'm super excited for. This next one I gotta turn music off for because I'm confused on this one. Let me tell you. Most anticipated game. We have The Witcher 4, Resident Evil Requiem, Marvel's Wolverine, GTA 6, and 007 First Light. When I saw that this category was going to return, I was thinking that it was released this year that it was anticipated. In which case, Silksong should have taken this by a mile, obviously. But then I looked. None of these games are out. These are all games slated for like early next year or just after the Game Awards in general. So, of these games, I'm giving it to The Witcher 4. Witcher 3 is unanimously agreed to be among the best RPGs ever. Think that'll be sick. Grand Theft Auto 6. Obviously, it's also up there. It probably beats The Witcher 4, but for me personally, I'm more interested in The Witcher 4 than I am about Grand Theft Auto 6, just because I don't know. I feel like the content style of GTA 5 kind of pissed me off. I really didn't like that it took them so long to make another game. But when Red Dead 2 came out, it was a phenomenal game. Like I personally did not finish it. I know that it is Twig's probably number one game ever. Um, if I could be mistaken, but I'm fairly certain it is. Um, Marvel's Wolverine. People have been nonstop shitting on this development studio just because of the leak that happened a few years ago. Um, I mean, it looks good. It just looks like an Insomniac game. To be honest, like to me, it seems fine. 007 First Light. I've never liked the 007 games. I've thought they've all kind of played like meh. But this one, I'm actually super interested in because it feels very old school Hitman, but with a lot of new mechanics that I'm super excited for. I really am excited to see the bluff system. I think that's super cool. I'm just hoping that it is like 8 to 12 to 16 hours long as opposed to, the old school standard 4-hour campaign or for the most recent Hitman game, episodic, which I don't think worked very well at all. Moving on to content creator of the year. I'm gonna put some music back on, but let's chill it out a little bit. I think we're, you know, back in the relax area. Put on some Dearly Beloved, and while the cat is mauling my arm, we can talk about content creator of the year. Now, I think that the big answers here are obviously going to be Kai Cenat. The Burnt Peanut has kind of taken over. Super excited. It would be awesome if he won an award. Moist Critical, obviously they've done a lot this year, especially with the other channel coming out and, you know, doing all of their watch parties and whatnot. And he has done a lot of big content recently. But I think across the board, when it comes to all of these, Peanut, I think, is probably the most entertaining content creator of the year. You know, Kai does Kai things, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it, and he's done a ton of stuff. You know, his subathon was super cool. He's constantly having massive names. He's kind of bridging the streaming and the celebrity world together, which has been super interesting, especially seeing people like Kevin Hart, who's more comfortable now interacting with a live audience through a computer as opposed to, you know, an actual live audience, and like making tons of money like that. I'm sure there's money involved, obviously, who you know, whatever, but it does seem to be a bridging point where people are starting to learn like this is actually a medium that people like to consume. But I think I have to give it to Peanut. Peanut has been so fucking funny in everything that he does. As a big Apex fan, he's been super fun in Apex. He's been super fun in Arc Raiders. He's always been fun in Tarkov. You know, he's just kind of like really taking over everything, and he's bridging a lot of communities together. I saw recently that Designful was playing with both the Burnt Peanut and Summit 1G, and then Summit 1G and XQC, which I never thought that Dez would be doing anything other than playing Apex. That has been my whole life of knowing him, you know? And I'm super excited to see that he's making it into these bigger categories, and I like to think that other content creators are part of the cause behind it. But more importantly, Peanut is so fucking funny. He is genuinely so funny. So not only has he managed to make it into the Streamer Awards for Best VTuber of the Year with the likes of Iron Mouse and Maury Calliope and Doki, you know, he's also bridging communities, which I think is super sweet. And personally, my vote will go for the Burnt Peanut. Going over to Best Debut Indie Game. This is going to be the hardest one out of all of them. Of the 5 that are listed, the ones that I put forward are Blueprints, Clair Obscur, and Dispatch. Dispatch has been phenomenal. Blueprints is probably one of the best puzzle games I've ever watched and played. It's super well done. I think Megabonk is just like a Q game, personally, and I think that's something to be proud of. Like, people were playing it as like a main game for a while, but I personally would only play it as a in-queue game when I have long queue times, which is totally fine. I think that's something that more studios need to be accepting of, is having it be a queue game, because queue games are good, especially in like big competitive queues like, say, Overwatch or Counter-Strike or Apex, where you're sometimes sitting in queue for 20-30 minutes, maybe an hour sometimes, just to find a relative match. I am really proud of what the Megabonk devs have done, or dev had done, and I think it's super well done. But I don't think that it should go further than being nominated for Best Debut Indie Game, especially when Blueprints, Expedition 33, and Dispatch are on the board. Dispatch has brought back one of my old favorite game styles, which is interactive movies. People are getting upset some places about you know, it being a little too movie, and like they felt like their opinions weren't like the most important thing. However, I disagree. Personally, I love Dispatch because I find the writing to be super fun. All of the characters are super fun to be around. Like everybody that works on the game is an absolute gem of a human, and I'm really, really excited to see what more comes from this studio partnership. I hope Critical Role will continue to assist them, because it's been great. Um, Overall, though, I do think that uh, it should either go to Claire Obscure or Dispatch, personally. I love Blueprints. I do think it's great. However, there are, I think that Expedition 33 and Dispatch are just better. Personally, I'd give it to Dispatch because I love the game so much, but I can also see Expedition 33 taking this one as well. Going over to Best Role Playing Game. I don't think I need to say what a win here. Obviously, the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 community is massive, and I'm really excited for them. Like they did get a massive sequel, so I know that they're super happy. However, I think this goes to Expedition 33. I don't even think it's close. Avowed, I thought was kind of ass. Um, Monster Hunter Wild still does not function on PC, so I am incredibly upset about that because I loved the game. I thought it was a ton of fun, but if you're a PC player, you just kind of got to go fuck yourself. So that's sick. The Outer Worlds 2, it's all right. I don't dislike it at all. It's just not. It really wasn't on my radar much, and to be honest, the small amount of content that I've seen on it is just kind of all right. The gameplay looks fine. You know story beats seem fine. The game itself seems, you might guess this, fine. But I would give it to Expedition 33 personally. Now, best action adventure game. I would either give this to Silksong or Death Stranding 2. Probably Silksong more so. I didn't even think that it would be in this category, but I definitely do think that it would go to probably Silksong. It's been great, super fun. Beautifully done. Team Cherry did a great job with this. Which, I mean, who would have guessed when Hollow Knight broke an oversaturated market? But I don't know exactly what will come of that. But I personally would put my vote down for Silksong. I think it's super fun. Going on to best action game. This one's tough for me. This one's actually really, really tough for me. Just like this music is really tough for me. Well, actually, I don't think I can play that one. I think YouTube might get a little grumpy about that. So we're just gonna go to the Persona 5 OST. Because Atlas is not as sue hungry as most other communities. So, moving on to best action game. I think any of these could take it. However, the two that I would give it to are either Doom the Dark Ages or Hades 2. Battlefield 6 is a great action game. I do think that it totally could win, and I would be totally fine with it winning. But I think Hades 2 is a substantially better game. I want Hades 2 to win. I want the Hades development studio to keep making games because they're really, really fucking good at it. And their art direction is fucking beautiful. It's one of the most gorgeous games I've played recently. Hades, referring to Hades the original, it's fucking phenomenal. You guys did a great job. Please keep it up. Don't ever stop. But overall, I think either Hades 2 or Doom the Dark Ages should take it, just from like the standard of being an action game. I mean, Ninja Gaiden 4 has been a little bit of a letdown, to be honest, and the game makes no fucking sense. Like, it feels like we were supposed to get another Ninja Gaiden game in between 3 and 4, and we just didn't. So that's cool. I'm gonna give it to Hades 2, but only time will tell what happens there. Moving on to best fighting game, I give this to 2XKO. I love Fatal Fury. so much. I thought City of Wolves was great. Capcom Fighting Collection 2, obviously, it's whatever. Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, again, I don't even think that it should be accepted. Virtua Fighter 5. That franchise makes me sad. So, again, I'm going to give it to XKO. Riot did a great job with it. Fatal Fury was fun, but not fun enough, I would say. Moving on to innovation and accessibility. I'm giving it to Assassin's Creed Shadows. Lundy, come here. Assassin's Creed Shadows has... it was a letdown for an AC game, but it did do a lot for overall development across games. Accessibility wise, there's some of the most customizable features in single player gaming that I've seen in a very, very long time, and it allows for a lot of different peripheries, which has been super nice. I did not play it, but I know that it is one of the most talked about accessibility games, so I'm totally fine with that getting it. Or even Doom the Dark Ages. I know Doom the Dark Ages gave a lot of access to accessibility features very early on, as well as a lot of different controller configurations and whatnot. So super excited to see how that goes. For the best family game, I give it to Donkey Kong. I thought Mario Kart World was kind of meh, but Donkey Kong Bonanza, obviously it got nominated for Game of the Year, so it's been great, but super excited to see how that's going to go. Moving on to best sim and strategy game, I don't even think it is remotely close. I'm giving it to Final Fantasy Tactics. I thought that the Final Fantasy Tactics remake was super well done. Civ 7 is kind of lacking in content, and overall I did not like a lot of the content direction that it took. 2 Point Museum wasn't bad, I just not my cup of tea. Jurassic World Evolution 3 was kind of meh. Tempest Rising also. The Altars I know not much about at all, so I can't really weigh in on that, but definitely giving that to FF Tactics, because that was a great game, and I saw a lot of people get into the FF Tactics games because of this remake, which I'm super excited for, because it's a really fun style of playing FF. Like, it's a really fun RPG style. That's why I also like Fire Emblem, because it's a really fun style. Moving on to the best sport and racing game, I'm gonna give it to Mario Kart World. Unfortunately, F125 was kind of clunky for me. I didn't mind it, but it's just kind of meh. Rematch was super interesting as a concept, but I mean this in the nicest way possible. I'd rather just go play Rocket League. It's something about the overall movement within the game, and like there were a lot of technical bugs that could really be taken advantage of, and that was a bit of a problem, so I kind of wanted to stray away from that. Sonic Racing wasn't bad, but I still think Mario Kart World was better. And then EA Sports FC26. I mean, really? Obviously, it might win, but I do think that Mario Kart World should take it. Moving over to best esports game, or esports team rather. This one's hard. It's either Gen G or Team Vitality, I think. It's kind of really full stop. I don't really follow League much. I know Faker just won his 6th World Championship. But other than that, I also don't follow Counter-Strike much. I know Vitality just had a crazy run. But, only time will tell what really happens there. Honestly, any of these are kind of fine. But I would probably go either Gen G or Team Vitality, personally. Just based off of the games that are listed for them. Best game direction, I'm going to go with Death Stranding 2 here. I love Expedition 33, but I mean, either of these are fine. They both win, to be honest. Like, it's the same argument that we've had for literally all of these so far. It's all the exact same list, too. So, crazy nomination score. Going to Best Esports Athlete, the fact that Faker isn't on here is fucking ridiculous, but I'll go with Forsaken. Forsaken did great this year. Actually fantastic this year. Brock also did phenomenal. So either one I'm totally fine with. Best esports game, we got Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, League, Mobile Legends, and Valorant. I would have to give it to League. I thought that the games this year weren't necessarily the best, but there was a lot that happened, and obviously, Faker won his 6 Worlds, so we're, that was kind of like a crazy thing to have happen, I thought the Valorant opening show was super good. Good job, Broden. I know you performed in that for VCTs. That was great. You guys did great. That I think all of that was awesome. As for the rest of the games, I don't know much about Mobile Legends. CS2, it was fun. I watched some of Oni's streams. It was fun, but not fun enough for me to put it as like best esport game. I still think that goes to either League. Well, I think that just straight up goes to League, to be honest. Moving up to Game of the Year. This is a perfect song for this. But going to Game of the Year, I have done a lot of thinking about this, and I personally give it to Expedition 33, and I don't think anybody would be upset by it. In fact, I'm sure Team Cherry will probably put forward an Easter egg for Clair Obscure Expedition 33 if there isn't one already in the game. Definitely super excited to see what comes out of that. Game of the Year this year is probably the hardest it has ever been. I think that this is going to be the most impactful Game of the Year. And I hope that Expedition 33 or Silksong win, because I want to put a precedent down for lower cost games. I think it's super important that we give value to the amount of work and dedication that can be put in when you give a team adequate time and you don't just release a game that is half finished. I personally am so tired of getting game releases that are hardly functioning on release day or are a total mess. Look at Monster Hunter Wilds. We are 6 months into its life, I believe, 8 months into its life, something like that, and the game still doesn't fucking function on one of the primary platforms for the game. If you not play it on PS5, it does not function. And that is an embarrassment. That is such a massively good franchise, and it is being completely cocked over by the fact that it is not given the proper acceptance that it should. It was not given the proper development time, and it's not being supported nearly enough for what it is. And I entirely blame Bandai Namco and Capcom for a lot of the releases this year that were an absolute mess. Ubisoft did a terrible job for most of this year. It's really been a mess for all 3 of those publishing studios. They just have not been great, and it's super, super upsetting that everything that has come out of those 3 studios this year has been severely underwhelming. So please, studios, please. This is a 1-to-1. We're talking to each other right now, right? Please, for the love of God, release finished games. Battlefield 6 even had a lot of bugs and issues, but at least they were patched the day of the release, the second they were noticed. But a lot of them also could have been avoided by QA testing, and now we're running into issues where things are taking way too long for even Battlefield to adjust to, because they are too busy focusing on bigger or more game modes for not accepting any community criticism, like RedSec only being 36 servers, the maps being insanely small. The biggest map we have in Battlefield 6 is fan-made. The biggest base game map we have is from Battlefield 3. We have so many issues with games and developers just not listening to their community, and studios that are listening to their community, such as Arc Raiders, are popping off. For Game of the Year, we have nothing but we have 4 indie game titles, which is absolutely astounding. We have 1 main AAA title and 1 Nintendo title. That is incredible. We have Clair Obscure Expedition 33. We have Hades 2. We have Hollow Knight Silksong. and we have Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. All for indie game development studios. Please, for the love of God, work harder. You are a AAA development studio. You guys have the resources to at least get your games out to finish. Overall, my game of the year goes to Expedition 33. I thought that was a masterpiece of a game. I know a ton of people have had their own opinions, but I think Expedition 33 is easily my game of the year, and I don't even think it's close. And I'm a Hideo Kojima stan. I am a Team Cherry Glazer. I cannot get over Expedition 33, and I'm super, super excited to see what other Claire Obscura games we get, because we know that Expedition 33 is just one part of a massively scaling story. So, I'm excited to see what'll happen, and I hope that everything goes great for the Game Awards this year, and we don't have any, Bill Clinton speeches and whatnot, I thought last year was super lackluster. Personally, I didn't agree with the Game of the Year winner, but I also didn't agree with the community winner either. I personally think last year, Metaphor ReFantazio should have won. I thought that was a phenomenal game, far better than Black Myth Wukong and Astrobot, but all three of those games were very, very good. And I don't mind Astrobot winning over Black Myth Wukong, personally. But let me know what you guys think about Game of the Year. I obviously released the video of me in my garage. That was kind of just like a, But right now, you may have noticed I'm not having my face stuffed into a microphone, and that is because my notice here, my snowball stopped working. I've had this for 8 years, 9 years, something like that. And it finally stopped working. So for the last few weeks, I have been using a Yeti orb that I bought a couple of years ago. And it's been working for my means. Obviously, I haven't recorded any videos except for this one. And as you can tell, it's a lot more open, which I'm not a huge fan of. But I am working towards getting an XLR microphone. I'm looking at Shure, more specifically. So if you have any idea about audio drivers or audio mixing interfaces, please leave any recommendations down below. I'm currently looking at the Shure SM7DB for the onboard gain and output control. I think those will be super helpful. So I'll have to look and see what's going on there. And then obviously my audio mixer, I'm still trying to figure that out, but I don't understand audio mixers. So I looked at the Scarlett, but I have a friend who, has some problems with it. So definitely going to be looking into a bit more stuff with it, but I have no fucking clue what I'm doing when it comes to audio direction. So that's going to be a bit of a mess to work through. Thank you for watching me just yap about stuff. Sorry about the audio quality. Sorry about the music fluctuation. I'm still trying to figure things out right now. Figuring out a bunch of audio stuff. I've been in the garage recently building a bit of a set that I had talked about originally, and I want to do more skits and stuff. I want to have more fun. This channel is meant for me. I've had so many ideas, but I just don't have the energy to put forward, or I get so disappointed in the production that now I'm at a point where I just want to release things because I think it's fun. And me yapping to a recording for an hour has been tons of fun. So thank you for accepting it being scuffed. Any recommendations I really do appreciate, and I would really hope to work towards further. Take the glasses off so you don't have the glare, and we can have a little eye contact here. But super excited to see what comes of this year's Game of the Year. I have a bunch of things in store that I want to work on for the channel. I just got another job working as a barista at a local coffee bar, so some extra money is going to be flowing in that I can then turn around and put into things that I want to do, which I'm super excited for, because that's really the core of what I want this channel to be. Is I just want to have fun again, because I used to have so much fun making, recording, and editing videos, and now I feel like I have to compete with people for some reason, when it's like I don't have a consumer to compete with, or to compete for rather. I just want to make fun videos, have my friends laugh at me in the corner, and that be it. And anybody else who joins along the way, thank you very much for watching. Before I yap for another 20 minutes, that's about all of my opinions for Game of the Year. Again, let me know what you think down below. Let me know if you think any games got shafted. Let me know if you think I'm a fucking idiot. I don't know. But it'll be super cool to see what other people feel. So thank you for watching. I know that this was like very scuffed and just kind of like a like a one-on-one kind of thing, but it has been super fun, and probably going to be streaming more consistently. I want to stream some Arc Raiders because I'm super excited about that, but I'm still trying to figure out this microphone because obviously it's super open. You can hear every click and every button press I place, so still got to figure that out. Anyways, this is Tia. She wishes to say goodbye, and so do I. So hope you have a lovely day, and keep your head all day.